Hi guys, it's Erika the Photographer. You guys are in for a real treat today because as many of you have been following my Blacklight photo shoots, I finally decided to film a behind the scenes version of one. To kind of give you guys a lowdown of how I go from point A to point holy cow. First, let me start off by saying I'm sorry in advance, profusely sorry in advance. I've never filmed one of my Blacklight shoots before, so kind of didn't really pay attention to where I was standing sometimes, so you get an awesome view of the back of my head and my shoulder from time to time. But it's all good because this video is not intended to show you the finite details of how I get everything done. It's just to give you an overall idea of how we get from point A to point B, so I apologize in advance. I'm an idiot. Moving on. As many of you have been following my Blacklight projects, I am currently working on what I call the ABC Masterpiece Project, where A through Z, I'm picking one masterpiece for each letter to represent through the entire alphabet. In this project, for the letter L, I decided to take a stab at the pop artist Roy Lichtenstein. Now, if you go on YouTube, there are countless videos from wonderfully talented makeup artists that kind of show you the details of how they get this two-dimensional look on a three-dimensional surface. You can find several videos on how to get the flat lips look. You can find several on how to do the tears, and some people paint the hairs and some people do the wigs, and there's a lot of different versions how people do the dots. Some people decide to cover the entire face with the dots. Some people only do part of it. I've seen them where they're done in white, in red, in blue, in orange, I think even yellow. They're all wonderful and they're all amazing on their own right. This is just my interpretation of Lichtenstein, but in black lights. So let's get started. First and foremost, for all my paintings, I have to start with a canvas. My canvas for this particular letter is the beautiful, stunning, wonderful, enchanting Kathryn Mock. I've had a chance to work with her several times and she jumped on this one. But let's talk a little bit about what you're about ready to see in the actual behind the scene videos. First step that you're going to see is you're going to see Miss Kathryn just get a baby wipe and wipe herself down completely just to kind of get myself a nice clean flat canvas. The next step after the baby wipes, which I don't show in the video, is I have Miss Kathryn prime her skin. This is just an e.l.f. hydrating moisturizer. I've learned that in the Blacklight paints, it can kind of dry some people's skin, so putting on a little bit of moisturizer, one, keeps it from drying them out, and two, it kind of helps me get a nice smooth base to paint with. So once she's been baby wiped and primed and it dries, then we go on to the foundation. Now for the Lichtenstein, I wanted to have a nice solid white base. But in order to do that, I needed to give the white UV paint a good base coat, because if I put just solid white on skin, it kind of has this muddy blue effect, and I really wanted the color to pop and be bright blue. So I went to the local Wally World and just got a cheap costume makeup that you buy at the Teen Spirit section. Really anything will work, but this just makes a good foundation. There's actually 2 coats of this on her entire skin before we go to the Blacklight. Once the base is on and it's dried and set in, it's time to move on to the next phase. So in order to get a nice flat white base, I decided I needed to airbrush this on. So what I did is I took my Moonglow UV paint that comes in these little tubes and I squirted some of it into an airbrush container, filled it up with water, shook it up, and now I have got a paste in an airbrush form. Once my base coat was laid down completely, the rest of it's pretty straightforward. I used 4 basic colors from Moonglow: the blue, the orange, the red, and the yellow. And of course I used my trusted SD Paradise water reactive paint. The lips were pretty straightforward. I used Paint Glow UV reactive red paint. I trimmed it in my Paradise black. And for the specular highlights, I just dabbed a little tiny brush and highlighted the white to get the shine. So when I was ready to go on to the hands, you'll see where I went ahead and did the same procedure that I did for the face and the makeup, and I started to paint it in front of her so I could get it ready for the camera position. The step I didn't show is I painted her nails in this LA Color Brights nail polish, which amazingly shows up fantastic in Blacklight. Okie dokie, enough teasing, let's get on with the show. You're going to see Miss Kathryn looking like a Smurf here pretty soon. It's because I have them in the UV lights. I can't see UV paint under regular lights, so she has to look like a Smurf. Contrary to popular belief, my models are not sitting nude in my studio. I have them put little spaghetti straps on, we tuck in the straps, kind of wipey the face and do the primer, get everything ready to go. I'm going to hand her a paper towel and we just kind of tuck it in the top. I like to edit as absolutely little as possible, so we just pull that off when we're done. Using your favorite makeup sponge, I think this is an e.l.f. I just used the Teen Spirit makeup and smear it all on, dot it in. I'm really fast tracking this because this is 2 layers of it. I start doing one place, I move on. When the first place is dry, I go back. Here is my mixture of my UV paint. It's just water and UV and an airbrush gun. And again, you'll kind of see it starting getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. UV paints work amazingly when they're in layers. Now, if I wanted something nice and subtle, then I could have just one coat. But for the Lichtenstein, I wanted to have almost that geisha white foundation. So we had to do layer after layer. And you can see it just getting more and more intense. Now, coming up, I didn't want to like put it in her nose and didn't want her to breathe it in, even though the UV paint is totally non-toxic. Nobody wants to breathe in paint. So you'll see while I have her take a big old breath, there it is. And we start painting around the nose and the mouth and the lips. Because again, it's perfectly safe, but nobody wants to breathe in paint. And breathe in the air. She's so awesome to work with. She's amazing. And so we just keep building it on and building it on. And once I'm happy with it, then it's ready to move on to the actual painting part, but layer upon layer upon layer. Now, using my Paradise paint, I decided I wanted to use the dots kind of like you would use a bronzer. So I needed to mark where the cheekbone would be. Remember, you have to think through 2D, not 3D, because I'm doing pop art. So kind of marked in the cheekbones, and I grabbed my template and marking off with blue painter's tape, kind of marked off, followed the line. I taped a little to her hair because I don't have 900 hands, and airbrushed, and voila. And just kind of do that in steps. I flip it over, I wipe it off, make it nice and clean, move it up. Again, I didn't want to paint on her eyes and her eyebrows because you can't clean up your mess as you go like you would street makeup. It's UV paint it's awesome. Once it's there, it's kind of there unless you like really mean to take it off. So again, taping it to her hair, taping off the eyebrow line, get the UV paint in my air gun, and again, like you would use a bronzer. That was a decision I made. Could put it anywhere you want, of course, but for Lichtenstein, I thought it'd be fun to kind of highlight it. And again, for this, I really only needed to use one layer. The red just screamed on the white. It was amazing. Continuing on, marking the clavicles, marking the V's. Again, if my lines aren't perfect, I do not pretend to be a professional makeup artist. I am first and foremost a photographer, but I'm still having an amazing amount of fun with these. Trimming off the ears, trimming off the jaw lines. I don't ever use any of that goopy stuff for the eyebrows. UV lighting is so different, so I don't really have the need to mark them off because hair doesn't show like it would in regular street lights. So I can just literally paint over the hairs like here and not worry about it being mucky or showing. And the frown lines starting to take shape. You can see under the clavicles I did the red dots, and again, same template right on the necklines, airbrushing the dots, and now she's really starting to take shape. Same Paradise makeup, I do the eyeliners, pull them out, kind of draw in eyelashes. I fill in the gaps from where I was airbrushing, and I can't obviously paint on her eyeballs. Just kind of fill it in, let it dry. I start using the yellow for the eyeshadow. Again, layer upon layer upon layer. I think there's probably 2 or 3 layers, just because me personally, I like it to be wicked bright. So the brighter you do it. The eye drops, paint them in blue, trim them in black, blue highlights on the white. There's the white eyeliner underneath. And here I am again. I've discovered I'm not so good on both sides of the faces, but it is what it is. Fluff up the hair, prime it with some hairspray to make it nice and icky and sticky, and then straight out of the tub, I start doing the actual hair. This is just the orange color, following the natural flow of the hairline. I tried to exaggerate the hair draping. It didn't quite so work so well. And you can see going all the way back to the ponytail. Again, I can't wipe off my mistakes because it will show, so I just have to be very gingerly careful of where I'm pointing my wide brush, and just kind of little by little, bloop, 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 and just keep following the hairline until I'm happy. And then once I've got that all covered in the orange, I start to do the spectral highlights in the yellow. And under the yellow, just to give it depth, I kind of trim it in the same costume black. And once that's all done, I just trim it all off hairline to skin line in the same black with a wide flat brush, just to give it a nice crisp line. And then for the POW, the PopArt magazine word, just kind of freehand it. I've discovered that painting in Blacklight paints, it's better to go lighter to darker. So I'm starting from the inside out. I'm starting from the yellow, and then once the yellow kind of takes a few minutes to dry, I trim it out with the red. And once that takes a few minutes to dry, you'll see me go with a flat brush here. Again, I'm sorry for my back. I'm an idiot. You'll see me trimming it out in black, and I'll trim out the letters in black and do a little specular highlight in the white once it's all dry. Now treating the hand just like I did the face and the shoulders. It's this spirit makeup, just layer upon layer upon layer. You can see she's kind of positioning because I only wanted to paint where the camera was going to see. There's no point in painting where you weren't going to see it. So letting that dry, I start to airbrush it. At one point you'll see where I get her hand in position, and so I'm not spraying on her face. I just kind of hold a mirror in front of her between her hand and her face, and I just start airbrushing it from the camera's point of view. I'm sitting the entire time in the camera's point of view. So you do the red lipstick. Once that's all done and painted the nails, then you trim the lips in the black. You do the little specular highlights in the white, and there you have it. Again, I don't need to worry about what's on the back because it's not going to show, doesn't reflect. Left to right, and then you can see here's the final, what it's going to look like from the camera's view. Her hand position, I'll pop off that paper towel. But there she is, my pop art beauty. The final shot is taken at f4, shutter speed, 1/250th of a second, ISO 1250 on my 85mm lens. And for extra giggles, here's what it looks like in the regular studio lights. Pretty cool. There's that geisha white. So there you have it. Pretty cool, huh? If you enjoyed watching this video and want to see more behind the scenes of my blacklight photo shoots, please hit subscribe so that I know that you're actually out there and watching these. It's because of fans like you that I'm able to continue to do things like these, and I hope to do many, many more in the future. And since you've come this far with me, I invite you to go a little bit further and go check out my Patreon page. There's a little welcome video there to tell you what it's all about. Bye guys!